Assalamu alaikum. My name is Kashmal Ashraf, and I'm here to present the second lecture of modern drama, which is A Doll's House. In our last lecture, lecture 1, we have already discussed the main characters, the overview, and the biography of its writer, Henrik Ibsen. Um, in this lecture, we will focus on the theme, a feminist perspective presented in A Doll's House by Henrik Ibsen. Um, since we are discussing about feminism or feminist perspective in this play, we have to first consider what feminism is. So, we all know that feminism talks about the equal political, economic, cultural, social rights for men and women. So, we can say that feminism defends and advocates equal political, economic, cultural, and social rights for women. It attacks on gender inequality and marginalization of women. When we hear about feminism, we think that feminism or feminists are against men, but it's not that, because feminism is not against men. It is rather against the patriarchal society, since men are the perpetuator of patriarchal society. So we think that it is also against men, but it is not. It just advocates or fights for the equal rights of men and women. So, in this lecture, I am going to present that whether this drama has a feminist perspective or not. So, in order to go into that, we have to discuss the overview of the story. Um, I will just provide you the main bullet points of the story, so that you can have the idea, and we will then later analyze that if this drama is a feminist play or not. So, as I have already mentioned, that Nora is the main character. This is the story of Nora Helmer, an upper middle class woman who is married and has three children. Her husband Torvald Helmer has just got a job at bank manager that will start after Christmas. As was typical, Nora does not work and stays at home. The Helmers have a maid, Helen, and nanny Anne Marie, who cares for the three children. Dr. Rank is another character. We can say it's a minor character. He is a good friend of Torvald, who visits the Helmers daily. Mrs. Linde is a friend of Nora and ex-girlfriend of Krogstad. Krogstad is a clerk in the local bank where Helmer would be an officer. So, as the play opens, we see that it is just before the Christmas, and all seems well in Helmer household. An old friend of Nora's, Christian Lind, appears at her door. It is soon revealed that Nora has a big secret she has been keeping from her husband. Nora is not allowed to spend money, take any decision, or eat any sweet against the will of her husband. So we can say that these elements or these points are not going in favor of Nora, uh, and are not exactly representing equal rights in a household. Let's move forward. Helmut regards women rather like children who are helpless, who need protection from the harsh realities of life. Men are independent and the guardians of poor women. Nora is called many names throughout the play. For example, little songbird, little skylark, little person, squirrel, lark, little featherhead, little woman, little rogue, helpless little mortal, child, charming little darling, my frightened little singing bird, miserable creature, thoughtless woman, blind foolish woman, heedless child. Basically, anything and everything other than a good supportive wife, or anything from her husband, uh, unless it's a praising word. He just calls him with little, little something, uh, which is demeaning, all indicating a lack of equality and respect for Nora's personage. What Nora did, what was the Nora's secret? She forged bank documents to get a loan for Helmer's medical treatment. Nora secretly repaying the debt. Krogstad knows this but keeps mum. Krogstad is to be fired by Helmer. He blackmails Nora to stop Helmer or he would reveal her crime to Helmer. It would harm the status of Helmer. In the previous lecture, I've already described the story and told you that Nora was under the condition that Nora was under the condition that she had to take a loan so that she could take her husband Helmer, who was very sick at that time, to a tour so that she could save her. She could save him. And for that, she had to forge the signature of her father, uh, and all this was happening against the will of her husband Helmer. As I have already mentioned, that she was not allowed to borrow any money against her will, his will. So when we see that Nora expresses her, um, Nora expresses her idea or her position that she had kept her secret. She has kept a secret from her husband. Um, Krogstad, who is about to be fired by Helmer, blackmails her so that uh, he could not. So can he can he could leave he could protect his position in the bank. Helmer sent the maid to deliver Krogstad's letter of dismissal. Angry Krogstad put a letter detailing Nora's debt and forgery in Helmer's letterbox. Tense Nora shares this problem with Mrs. Linde. So basically, Krogstad blackmails Nora, and um, after all, he delivers a letter to their letterbox, Helmer's letterbox. But after convincing, some convincing done by Mrs. Linde, uh, he, you know, so when Nora shares this problem with Mrs. Linde, she persuades Krogstad successfully. Helmer reads the Krogstad letter and is very angry. He calls Nora a hypocrite, a liar, an immoral person. He would not save Nora from the imprisonment of the forgery. Here comes a turning point. Uh, because of the persuasion, Krogstad maid brings a letter by Krogstad promising not to reveal Nora's forgery. Krogstad had delivered another letter. Krogstad had delivered another letter, which was in which he promised that he would not reveal Nora's forgery. Krogstad returns the forged document. Helmer suddenly changes. He makes a drama of loving and caring Nora, promising again to protect her. Now we will see how Nora revolted in the whole situation. Nora, frustrated and disillusioned, learns the hypocrisy and hollow morality of Helmer. She decides to end the relationship. She demands true freedom and individuality, throws the engagement ring, and leaves the doll's house forever. So, if we are going to analyze this whole situation, we can see that the protagonist Nora's identity broadens. How Nora is a woman and first and foremost a human being, which she was not being treated as. Emphasis on the individuality, the fixed roles, the function as a daughter, a wife, a mother, and a doll, an individual with an independent mind. A universal subject is voice for the repressed, the unheard, and the marginalized. So we see that how Henry Gibson, through the character of Nora, has portrayed that one should voice their, you know, one should fight for their rights and focus and emphasize on their individuality. There is a passage or just a line from the text. Nora, I don't believe that anymore. I believe that before all else, I am a human being no less than you, or anyway, I ought to try to become one. Here, Nora is trying to say that throughout the play, Helmer refers to Nora as a child. She says at one point that he treats her just like her father did, as though she is a doll. This is evidence of her feeling that he treats her as though she is less than a human. He assumes that her most sacred vows are her obligations as a wife and a mother. In the moment quoted above, she finally asserts her rights to her own life or her own humanity. As some critics said, A Doll's House becomes an astonishingly radical play about women's historical transition from being generic family member, wife, sister, daughter, and mother to becoming individuals. Tragic is the fact that her own husband does not recognize her humanity and her individuality, and she loses her children in the process of her self revelation. So all this could have saved. There was no need for Nora to revolt if her husband has understood her individuality, but he did not. So she had to do all this. Since we have seen that Nora has revolted and has fought for her basic rights, which we have already discussed, so we can say that there are some. So we can say that A Doll's House is a feminist play as it talks about females' right and their suppressed individualities and how they can voice their um, rights, voice for their rights. They can fight for their rights. So that was all. I hope this lecture was helpful for you. Thank you so much.